All right, let's get started. This is going to be a deep dive, folks. Looks like we're going deep on Wang Yang
Yeah.
today. You've given me a real mix of stuff.
A lot of material.
Yeah, like academic papers,
Mm.
philosophical texts, all centered around Wang Yang. And we're exploring how his ideas from like centuries ago
Right.
can actually help us live better lives in the modern world.
Right.
So specifically, we're focusing on a paper called Wang Yang's Philosophy of Mind and Life Education,
Right.
Practices and Enlightenment in Modern Teaching.
Yes, and to add even more depth to that, we'll be looking at excerpts from Wang Yangming's own writings.
Okay.
Like instructions for beginners,
Right.
record of instructions, and questions from students.
Now, I know life education might sound a little vague,
Right.
but stick with us here.
Yeah.
This isn't just some self-help jargon.
No.
This is about how we can use Wang Yangming's philosophy to navigate the very real challenges we face today, like things like information overload, making tough decisions, and actually living in alignment with our values.
Yes, and to make things even more interesting, we have a section from the paper where the author uses Wang Yangming's ideas to teach.
Okay.
Wait for it, a programming class.
A programming class.
Yeah.
Now, that's a curveball I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So how does ancient philosophy fit into lines of code?
Yeah.
Well, let's start by unpacking some of Wang Yangming's core concepts.
Okay.
One that really jumps out at me is heart is principle.
This is a really powerful idea.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where your heart, your intuition isn't separate from universal truth.
Right.
That's essentially what heart is principle suggests.
Okay.
It says that each of us has an innate moral compass, a deep-seated understanding of right and wrong.
So it's not about blindly following rules or dogmas.
No.
It's about tapping into something deeper within ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
Wang Yangming believed that this innate wisdom is something we can cultivate and strengthen through practice and reflection. And that's where investigating the principle of things comes in.
Oh.
This concept encourages us to actively engage with the world around us, to question, to explore, and to uncover the underlying truths that govern our experiences.
Okay, so how does this translate to everyday life?
Yeah.
I mean, we're bombarded with information all the time.
Right.
How can we investigate the principle of things where we're constantly being pulled in a million different directions?
That's where things get really practical.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. The next time you're scrolling through your newsfeed feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information,
Right.
ask yourself, is this helping me understand a deeper truth?
Oh.
Or is it just distracting me from what's important?
Uh-huh.
That simple act of questioning, of filtering information through your own values and goals is a way of investigating the principle of things
Okay.
in a very real modern context.
That's like a mindfulness practice for our digital age.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it's not just about filtering information.
Right.
It's about approaching every experience, every challenge, every decision with a sense of curiosity and a desire to understand the underlying principles at play.
This is reminding me of something I struggle with.
Yeah.
I often know what the right thing to do is,
Right.
but actually doing it,
Yeah.
that's a whole other challenge.
Right.
Is that where unity of knowledge and action comes in?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Wang Yangming recognized that knowledge without action is incomplete.
Right.
It's like reading a cookbook and never actually cooking anything.
Yeah.
You might have all the knowledge, but you haven't truly experienced the joy and the challenges of putting that knowledge into practice.
But it's not always easy to act on what we know,
Yeah.
is it?
Right.
I mean, sometimes our emotions get in the way, or we get stuck in old habits, or we're just plain afraid to step outside our comfort zone.
You're absolutely right. And Wang Yangming himself recognized the challenges of bridging this gap between knowledge and action. In the record of instructions, he talks about how he initially failed to live up to his own ideals.
Okay.
It was a process of trial and error, of constantly striving to align his actions with his values.
So how do we overcome those obstacles? How do we actually start living in a way that reflects our deepest values?
Well, the paper we're looking at dives into that very question.
Okay.
And here's where it takes a really interesting turn.
Okay.
The author decided to put Wang Yangming's ideas to the test in a very unexpected setting, a programming class.
Hold on, a programming class. How on earth did that work?
Well, that's what we're going to explore next. It might seem like a stretch at first, ancient philosophy meeting modern technology,
Right.
but bear with me here.
Okay.
The author of this paper found some pretty amazing parallels.
Okay.
He argues that debugging code can actually be an exercise in investigating the principle of things.
So instead of just frantically searching for a missing semicolon or something. You're actually delving into the underlying logic of the program.
That's the idea.
Okay. Think about it. When you're debugging, you're essentially trying to understand why the program isn't behaving the way you expect it to.
Right.
You're looking for the root cause of the problem.
Right.
Not just treating the symptoms. And that process of inquiry, of digging deeper to uncover the truth hidden within the code, mirrors the spirit of investigating the principle of things that Wang Ming emphasized.
I'm starting to see how this connects.
Yeah.
It's not just about finding the error. It's about understanding the principles that govern the program's behavior.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the author takes it even further, suggesting that this process of debugging can actually cultivate certain virtues.
Virtues.
Yeah.
From debugging.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
What kind of virtues are we talking about here?
Well, think about the qualities you need to be a successful programmer.
Okay.
Patience, perseverance, attention to detail, a willingness to learn from your mistakes.
These are all qualities that can translate into other areas of life.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
When you're staring at a screen full of code,
Right.
trying to figure out why your program keeps crashing,
Right.
you can't just give up.
Right.
You have to be persistent.
Exactly.
You have to be willing to try different approaches until you find a solution.
Yes.
And that kind of tenacity can be really valuable
Absolutely.
in other challenges we face.
Precisely. And then there's the humility that comes from recognizing that you don't have all the answers.
Okay.
Debugging teaches you that you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. It's about learning from those mistakes and moving forward.
So in a way, it's like a training ground for developing character.
You could say that.
Okay.
And this idea of learning through action, through trial and error, is very much in line with Wang Ming's emphasis on the unity of knowledge and action.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just read about virtue. You have to actually practice it, even if it means stumbling along the way.
This whole concept is fascinating.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, it's a bit of a mind shift.
Sure.
We're so used to thinking of education as something that happens in a classroom,
Right.
with textbooks and lectures.
Yes.
But Wang Ming's philosophy suggests that learning can happen anywhere, anytime,
Absolutely.
as long as we're actively engaged with the world
Right?
and striving to align our actions with our values.
That's a key takeaway here.
Okay.
It challenges us to think about education in a much broader sense.
Right.
It's not just about acquiring knowledge, it's about cultivating wisdom.
Okay.
The ability to apply that knowledge to real-life situations, to make ethical decisions, and to live a life of purpose and meaning.
This all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually put this into practice?
Yeah.
How do we cultivate this heart is principle and start living in a way that's truly aligned with our values?
Well, that's where Wang Ming's emphasis on self-cultivation comes in.
Okay.
He believed that true transformation starts from within. It's about cultivating our inner landscape through practices like reflection meditation and engaging in meaningful action.
So it's not a quick fix.
No.
It's an ongoing process of growth and development.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that it's a journey we can embark on at any point in our lives.
Okay.
It's never too late to start paying attention to our inner compass, to question our assumptions, and to strive to live in a way that reflects our deepest values.
That makes me think about how we raise and educate the next generation.
Yes.
If we want to create a world where people are guided by their heart as principle, how do we instill these values in young people?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to the paper's focus on life education.
Okay.
Wang Ming's philosophy offers a powerful alternative to the traditional model of education that emphasizes rote memorization and standardized testing.
So instead of just focusing on grades and test scores,
we
should be encouraging young people to develop their character, their critical thinking skills, and their ability to navigate the complexities of life.
Precisely. Imagine a world where schools not only taught facts and figures, but also provided opportunities for students to explore their values, to engage in ethical decision-making, and to practice compassion and empathy in their interactions with others.
That sounds like a much more holistic and fulfilling approach to education, but it also raises some questions for me.
Okay.
If we're talking about cultivating heart as principle, how do we address the fact that people have different values and beliefs?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
Wang Ming didn't believe that heart as principle meant everyone would arrive at the same conclusions about right and wrong.
Okay.
He recognized that our values are shaped by our experiences, our culture,
Right.
and our individual understanding of the world.
So how do we navigate those differences?
Yeah.
So especially in today's world, where it seems like we're constantly bombarded with conflicting viewpoints
Right.
and ideologies.
Well, this is where investigating the principle of things becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
It's not just about looking inward. It's also about engaging with others in a spirit of open-mindedness and genuine dialogue.
Yeah.
It's about trying to understand where other people are coming from,
Right.
even when we disagree with them.
So it's not about forcing our own beliefs on others.
Yeah.
It's about having those difficult conversations, trying to find common ground,
Yes.
and recognizing that there might be multiple truths or perspectives.
Exactly. And this ties back to the idea of the unity of knowledge and action.
Okay.
Our actions in the world, how we treat others, how we engage in dialogue, how we stand up for what we believe in.
Right.
All of that is a reflection of our understanding of Hardest principle.
So it's not enough to just sit in a room
Right.
and contemplate our values.
Yeah.
We have to actually go out and live them, interact with the world, and engage with those who hold different perspectives.
Absolutely. And that can be messy and challenging at times.
Right.
But Wangyang Ming believed that true growth and learning often happen in those moments of friction,
Okay.
when we're forced to confront our own assumptions and biases.
This is all starting to paint a really compelling picture
Yeah.
of how Wangyang Ming's philosophy can be applied to our lives today.
Uh-huh.
But I keep coming back to that question we touched on earlier.
Okay.
If we all have this heart is principle,
Right.
if we all have this innate moral compass,
Right.
what does that mean for our responsibility to each other and to the world?
That's a profound question.
Yeah.
And it's one that I think each of us has to answer for ourselves.
Right.
But Wangyang Ming's philosophy offers us a framework for approaching that question.
Okay.
If we believe that we're all connected to a universal source of goodness, if we believe that each of us has the capacity for wisdom and compassion,
Right.
then surely that has implications for how we live our lives.
So it's not just about individual self-improvement. It's about recognizing that our actions have ripple effects.
Yes.
That how we treat others, how we care for the environment, how we contribute to our communities.
Right.
All of that matters.
Precisely. And this brings us back to that programming class example.
Okay.
Remember how the author argued that debugging could cultivate virtues like patience and humility? Well, imagine applying those same virtues to our interactions with others. Imagine approaching those who hold different viewpoints with patience and a willingness to listen.
Right.
Imagine approaching challenges and conflicts with humility, recognizing that we don't always have all the answers.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It suggests that Wangyang Ming's philosophy can not only guide our individual growth,
Right.
but also help us build more compassionate and understanding relationships with others.
And ultimately, it's about recognizing that we're all in this together.
Okay.
We're all part of this interconnected web of life.
Right.
And our actions, however small they may seem, have the power to create positive change in the world.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've covered so much ground.
Yes.
From Wangyang Ming's core concepts to their practical applications in our modern lives.
Yeah.
And we've even touched on how his philosophy can inform our understanding of education.
Right.
And our responsibility to each other and the world.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And I hope this conversation has sparked your curiosity to explore Wangyang Ming's ideas further.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Right.
There's so much more to discover in his writings. And the beauty of philosophy is that it's an ongoing conversation.
Absolutely.
It's about asking questions, challenging assumptions, and ultimately finding meaning and purpose in our lives.
Yeah.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving to live in alignment with your hardest principle.
Well said. And until next time, keep diving deep.